Hello and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Kashif Kamran, and I welcome you all to a very important session on the paper Advanced Audit and Assurance. And the title of the session is How to Pass the AAA Paper. Now, this session will be very important for all of you preparing for the September exams. And this session will really benefit all of you in terms of the reinforcement of many important things which you should keep in mind when you are preparing yourself for the AAA paper in these last few days, and particularly what you should be doing when you are in the live exams, whether it is a computer based exam or a manual exam. Now, just before I start on with the session on how to pass the AAA paper, I just want to have a quick word on my tutor profile. In terms of my tutor profile, I am Kashif Kamran, a fellow chartered certified accountant. I am a lecturer for paper AA, SPL, and AAA at the Tabani School of Accountancy, a platinum approved learning provider of ACCA in Pakistan. Beside being a lecturer for the paper AA, SPL, and AAA at the Tabani School of Accountancy, I am also an owner for the Online Lecturer Academy, which is an online learning platform for accountancy qualification. I am a registered mentor for OBU research projects, and it's been a 13 plus year since I've been teaching this paper AAA. I started teaching this AAA paper since December 2007. My pass rates for AAA are above the global pass rates. Now let's start on with this particular session, and let's tell you all how you can pass the AAA paper. Now, over the last few months, particularly since we started preparing for the September exams, and internally, if I look at my students in terms of the AAA students who are connected with me through my ACCA webinars, or who are connected with me due to my online classes at the Tabani School of Accountancy, or who are connected with AAA by virtue of the Online Lecturers Academy or any other platform, whether you are connected with me through my Facebook page or you connected with me through my YouTube channel. I believe there is a diversified audience today who is taking this as the live session, and there will be a diversified audience who will later be looking for the recording. Now, in terms of everything, irrespective how you are connected with me as a student, or how you are interacting with me as a student, I just want to discuss broadly with all of you how you should be passing the AAA paper. Irrespective, you are my Tabani School of Accountancy student, you are my ACCA webinar student, you are my Online Lecturer Academy student, or you're generally a student who knows me but have not taken classes from me. But I want to guide you on a very honest note about how you should be passing the AAA paper. I might be reinforcing many things which I might have discussed plenty of times over different avenues and different forums. Now let's start on with the journey of how to pass the AAA paper. Now, first of all, if I look at the AAA paper, and we understand the AAA paper in terms of its dynamics, which is very important. Now, in terms of the AAA paper, we need to understand it is a very organized paper. It is a very structured paper, and it is a very clearly laid out paper. No doubt about that. Since I am associated with this paper ever since December 2007, I have seen this paper as very organized. I've seen this paper very structured. I've seen this paper very clearly laid out. Even though the format of paper have changed since I started teaching this paper, it's now a very different format since September 2018 exams. But prior to September 2018 exams, the format of the paper was different. But irrespective of the format, it's an organized paper. It's a structured paper, and it's a very well laid down paper. And I'll just be emphasizing on that shortly. But you need to understand that when you're appearing for the optional exams, whether that is a AAA paper, whether that is an AFM paper, whether that is an APM paper, or whether that is an ATX paper, as a student appearing for the strategic optional level exams, you should expect an element of surprises. And that's very natural because your examiner believes that you have gone over 100% syllabus when you enter the exam hall. Even though the paper is organized, I'll just be discussing that. Even though the paper is structured, no doubt about that, and even though the paper is clearly laid out. As a student, when you enter the exam hall, that is September 2020 exams, you should expect at the back of your mind an element of surprises. In a certain exam setting, the element of surprise is zero. In a certain exam setting, the element of a surprise is 5 marks, 6 marks, or it max in a certain exam setting, it might be 10 marks. But that element of surprise should not bring you under stress. That element of surprise should not bring you under a situation in your exam hall that should cause you stress. You should be prepared to handle the element of surprise, and you should not be bothered about it, because perhaps, if it is a 10 mark surprise, should you be spoiling your 90 marks paper just by a 10 marks surprise element? Or rather, you should keep the 10 mark surprise element for the last 15-20 minutes, and you should complete your paper. What is the right strategy? Should you spoil your 90 marks just because of an element of surprise? Or should you just solve your 90 marks paper and hold the element of surprise for the last 15 minutes or for the last 20 minutes? And whatever you can do in the last 15 to 20 minutes on that element of surprise, do it. But the element of the surprise will be from your syllabus, definitely. Element of a surprise is what? I will just be giving you a very good definition of an element of surprise in my session today. But my concern factor here is that a lot of time the students become stressed out in exam hall in their exam paper just because of a 5 to 10 marks which bother them, or 5 to 10 marks which they have never seen in the past paper. Should you spoil your paper just because of the 5 and 10 marks which are out of context, or you have not practiced them, or you have never seen them in the past paper? Or should you be focusing on the 90% paper? Should you be bothered about 90% paper? So the AAA paper is a very structured paper. The AAA paper is a very organized paper. The AAA paper is a very clearly laid out paper. But yes, you should expect element of surprises. Are you giving an applied skill exam? No, you're giving a strategic optional exam. So in a strategic optional exam, everything will come as you expect. Everything will come as you expect. No, there might be something which are beyond your expectation. And should you be mentally prepared and mentally ready for that, everyone? Okay, let's proceed further and let's discuss more about element of surprises shortly. Let's first discuss about it's an organized, structured, and clearly laid out paper. Okay, now you all know AAA is an organized paper and a structured paper. That's something wonderful on part of the examining team, which is headed by Lisa Weaver. And because she is been the head examiner since very long, so the paper has become very organized and very structured. Now you all know there are 3 questions you need to attempt in a AAA paper. Question number 1, there is a question number 2, and there is a question number 3. Now, I just want to shed light on how organized and how structured the paper is for 100 marks. Now, when you open the question number 1 in your exam hall, whether that is a computer-based paper or a manual paper, You need to understand that the question number 1 contains 46 technical marks. And with the 46 technical marks, it contains 4 professional marks, which is for writing up a briefing note. You must all be very familiar that the question number 1 is to be written in a format of a briefing note. And you should not be losing professional marks. You should not be losing professional marks. In my previous webinars, in my online classes, every time I have made attaining professional marks very clear. I have taught so many times how to write a good briefing note. You can see them in my webinars, like March 2020 webinar or my December 19 webinar. Ample times I have taught you how to write a good briefing note. So 46 technical marks and 4 professional marks. Now, when you look at the question number 1, it is so structured. Question number 1 is set at the planning stage of the audit. It will never change because every time the question number 1, whether of the new format or whether of the old format, the question number 1 in the entire history of the AAA has been a question which is set on the planning stage because the cycle of the audit starts from planning. And that's exactly how the examiner starts with the question number 1 from the planning stage of audit. Now, within the planning stage of the audit, when the question number 1 is set, examiner in like 46 marks have requirements A, B, C, D, or at times I've seen the requirements stretching up to E, but more common is A, B, C, D max. Yes, at times the examiners stretch up to E. So when in the 46 marks at the planning stage of the audit, you look at the requirement A, B, C, D, you know that one of that requirement definitely is on risk, which I will be coming across shortly. But the question is set at the planning stage of audit, and it can be on an existing client of your audit firm, or it can be on a new client. So the question can say it's a new audit client of your firm. Yes, we have seen that so many times in the past paper, the question number 1. Or at times the question number 1 says it has been a client for the last 5 years. You must have seen question number 1 in the past paper, which says it's a new audit client of your firm. So the question number 1 can be set on a new client, or it can be set on an existing client. We see both the varieties in the past paper. Second, the risk assessment, whether it is audit risk, whether it is the risk of material misstatement, whether it is a business risk on either the individual company or a group audit, is a regular feature of question number 1. Can you expect a question number 1 without risk assessment? Never. So question number 1 can be on an individual company, right? And many times you've seen in the past paper that the examiner has given a group of companies, right? A group of companies. So risk assessment is the requirement A or B of your exam paper. Now, from the risk assessment area, it is very, very common to see in the question number 1 audit procedures. Audit procedures is a very regular feature of the question number 1. Examiner asks you different accounting procedures on accounting areas. You must have seen the past papers, examiner asking you audit procedures on government grant, audit procedures on provisions, audit procedures on share-based payment, audit procedures on investment in associates, etc. So audit procedure is a very integral part of the question number 1. Ethical and professional issues, again, is a very common feature of the question number 1. Practice management. Matters to consider when accepting a new audit client, or matters to consider when accepting a further engagement from an existing client. I hope you're all familiar with practice management. I hope you're all clear on that your paper consists of matters to consider when accepting a new client, or matters to consider when accepting an engagement from an existing client, which is known as practice management. So practice management can also be part of the question number 1 if it is a new client. And we have seen in the recent history that examiner has made use of practice management for 6 to 8 marks in the question number 1. So you should know the breakdown of the question number 1. It is such a structured question: risk assessment, audit procedures, ethical and professional issues, and practice management. And yes, in the question number 1, examiner at times test knowledge. You must have seen a couple of times examiner asking you using the work of others in the question number 1, using the work of internal auditor in the question number 1, or using the work of a component auditor in the question number 1, or using the work of an expert in the question number 1. So examiner can make use of the knowledge parts in the question number 1 even. But something which is must in the question number 1 is risk assessment. That is must. Audit procedures, more and less, is a regular feature. If you see 5 exam settings, out of 5 exam settings, in 4 you will find audit procedures. If you see 5 exam settings, in 4 you will find ethical and professional issues. But practice management, you will not find in every exam setting. Practice management might be like you see 5 exam settings, and in 5 exam settings you might see twice practice management. Knowledge testing in 5 exam settings might be thrice. But that is how the question number 1 on average looks like in the AAA paper. Right? So the question number 1 is always on the planning stage, right? That stage will never change. So that is definitely on a planning stage. Now, when you move from the question number 1 to the question number 2, we know that the question number 2 is set at the stage of completion and reporting stage of audit. That can never change. That can never change. The question number 2 is set at the completion stage and at the reporting stage of the audit. These are 2 stages, right? Completion is a different stage, which is known as the review and the finalization stage. And the reporting stage is what you refer as an audit report. So the question number 2 is set at the completion and the reporting stage. Let's see what sort of things are common in question number 2. In question number 2, the audit evidence is a very regular feature. You must have seen multiple times since September 18 exams. A couple of times, examiner has put audit evidence in the question number 2. That's very regular feature because audit evidence is a topic which comes at the completion stage. In the question number 2, you must have seen a question on going concern, because going concern has been a very typical area which comes at the review and the finalization stage of audit. We have seen examiner put a standalone question on going concern even. Further, in the question number 2, you expect ethical and professional issues. So many times in past paper, you must have seen examiner has put ethical and professional issues in the question number 2 at the stage of completion. Then in the question number 2, you must have seen that examiner puts a topic which is known as communication to those charged with governance. In the question 2, communication of matters to those charged with governance, communication of deficiencies in internal control system to those charged with governance, or communication of issues, communication of problems to those charged with governance. So communication to those charged with governance has come a couple of times in the past paper. I think one of them was in the June 19 paper, if I'm not mistaken. June 19, question number 2 had communication with those charged with governance. So you cannot just rule that out. Critical appraisal of the audit report is a very typical feature. Many times, critical appraisal have come. It is very regular in the last few exam settings. It's almost coming like after a gap of one exam sitting. It has become so regular, but I hope you all know the critical appraisal because that's a very regular feature of exam papers. In the question number 2, a typical question on reporting, a typical reporting question asking you impact on audit report or impact on opinion, or a typical reporting question asking you comment on the matters which you should be discussing with those charged with governance. A typical reporting question in the past papers is part and parcel of the question number 2. So you should know what sort of topics comes in question number 2. I hope this list is giving you a revision. This list is giving you a reinforcement, and this list is not a denial of what you must have seen. If you have seen the papers from September 18 to March 20, this is not a denial list. This is a true list. You must have seen all this since September 18 to March 20. You cannot deny this list coming in front of your screen. Then you come to the question number 3, and now be very careful. Question number 3 is a question not stage specific. That means it gives an opportunity to the examiner to ask you anything. It is not stage specific. Now, question number 1 is set at the stage of planning. Question number 2 is set at the stage of completion and reporting. But is there a stage for question number 3? No. That means it's the most open-ended question. So can examiner ask anything in the question number 3? Literally, yes. But let's see, has this been the case? If you look at the history and we do the trend analysis of the recent 5 papers or the recent 6 papers, let's see, can we get some definition of question number 3? Because literally it means that examiner can ask you anything in the question number 3. But if we look at the trend analysis is giving us a very different picture. Let's see, what picture are we getting from the trend analysis of the recent papers in terms of question number 3. Open-ended question can be a surprise pack. Now, because it's an open-ended question, the question number 3, you can expect a surprise pack in question number 3. But not the entire 25 marks will be a surprise pack. Surprise packs can never be 25% of the paper, right? Surprise packs can be 5 to 10% of the paper. And you should be mentally prepared with that. And the surprise pack can be in the question number 1. It can be in the question number 2 even. But because it's the most open-ended question, you can expect anything. But recent past papers shows us a clue. And that's what examiner even tells us in the syllabus guide. Other assignments has been a very regular feature of question 3 since September 18. Other assignments, whether it is due diligence, whether it is forensic audit, whether it is review of the prospective financial information, they have been a very common feature of question number 3. It's almost like in one exam sitting, you get another assignment, in the next you don't. Then in the next you get, and then in the next you don't. But we've also seen that there has been exam sittings where back-to-back other assignments have come. September 19, for example, there are some papers which are not published, right? So don't get confused. But in September 19, examiner asked for forensic in the question number 3. And then in the December 19, the examiner asked for due diligence. That's back-to-back. But that shows examiner's tendency of asking other assignments in the question number 3, and that has come many times. So syllabus area F, other assignments, is a very regular feature of question number 3. I hope you agree with that, and you must have seen, if you have practiced past papers, of the recent 5 or 6 attempts. Other assignments is a very, very regular feature of question number 3. Now, beside other assignments, if in one exam sitting, examiner don't give other assignments, then what else examiner gives in question 3? However, examiner has tested the exposure draft ED 540. Examiner has tested the exposure draft ED 540. Now, when the examiner tested the exposure draft on ED 540, which was accounting estimate, at that time, in the June 19 paper, it was a current issue. And that was the reason it came in. We know examiner has a tendency of asking for current issues. I will be discussing that later in my session today. But ED 540 was a current issue in, I think, June 19 paper. And examiner tested that in the question number 3. So can we expect a recent examiner article in question 3? We cannot rule that out. We cannot rule that out, right? So is the examiner saying expect a current issue in the question 3 if there is a current issue? But I hope you all know that in a AAA paper, current issue is not for every exam setting. Current issue comes once in a blue moon. Current issue comes after a very long time. Is there a current issue for your paper? I will just be discussing that. But is this message going to all of you that if there is a current issue, can that be examined in question 3? Can be. We're not sure. It can even be examined in 1 and 2. It can be examined in 3. Then the examiner has also tested the topic of money laundering in the question number 3, which is knowledge. Examiner has also tested a very focal area of the AAA paper, ethical and professional issues, in the question number 3. Now, you all know ethical and professional issues, whether it comes in question 1 or 2 or 3. Examiner has also tested areas of practice management, matters to consider when accepting a new engagement, matters to consider before accepting a new engagement, practice management. So there has been a lot of diversity, right, in the question number 3. So is everyone clear on the definition of question 3? Is it specific to a stage? Is it specific to a stage? No. Can you see variety of things in question 3? But is other assignments a more regular feature? Is other assignment a more regular feature of question 3? Right. Ethical and professional issues have come many times in question 3. Practice management is a very regular feature of question 3. But current issues, we are not sure of that. Current issues can even come in question number 2 or 1. It depends upon the examiner. But we need to decide, is there a current issue we should be preparing for September exams? But is everyone clear that the paper AAA is an organized and a structured paper? And you must have seen yourself question number 1, 2, and 3. I'm not giving you a different definition, right? This is the definition. If you have seriously practiced the past paper, this is a definition which you yourself must have got out of the question number 1, 2, and 3. I hope I'm right in saying that. Okay, now moving further. Elements of surprises. Scanning of the last few exam settings, you will identify requirements, testing, share audit knowledge. Now, I believe that the student should practice the last few exam settings. If you have practiced the last 6 exam settings or the last 8 exam settings, you must have found 6 to 10 marks, which might be a bit irritating to you, which might be a bit disturbing to you, which might be a bit out of context. But can you prepare for them? Is there a repetition in the AAA paper? Is there a repetition in the AAA paper? A lot, a lot. So if there is a repetition in the AAA paper, if you are practicing the past papers, and in the past paper, if you come across a requirement which is an irritative requirement, or you believe this requirement, I have never seen this requirement, should you note it down? Should you do it? What if that same requirement comes in your exam setting? For example, there is an unusual requirement in a December 18 paper, for example. Can you expect the December 18 unusual requirement can come back in September 20 paper? Should you ignore it? So should you be doing the unusual requirements from the recent paper? Should you be going through the recent papers and see what have been unusual? And should you note down the unusual things on a piece of paper? And should you revise the unusual things? Will you be lucky if the same unusual thing comes in your exam setting? Will you be lucky enough to get good marks? So can you ignore the elements of surprises? And is everyone getting that there is a repetition in surprise elements too? Surprise elements are repetitions, right? There is a lot of repetitions in surprise element. But the problem with surprise elements is they comes after a big gaps. They come after a big gaps. So for element of surprises, I would recommend that you do papers from 2016. You do papers from 2016 to 2020. If you do papers in this bracket, will you be able to get numerous examples of surprises if you do a broad practice of 2016 to 2020 paper? Will you get numerous examples of surprises? You will. And will you note them down? Will you note them down somewhere? Right? So please ensure that you are making yourself excellent for the AAA paper. Not just looking on something which comes regularly, but also looking for something which comes once in a blue moon. Now, how would you know something comes once in a blue moon? Will, will you practice a lot of past papers like from 2016 to 2020? And you will be better equipped to know what comes once in a blue moon, right? But at the level at which the AAA paper is set, expecting surprises, is that something natural? Are we giving the initial ACCA papers, or are we giving the strategic optional papers? But should we tackle the element of surprises with a common sense? Should we deal with the element of surprises without stress? And should we, if there is a requirement for 10 marks, which I don't know, should I keep it for the last of the exam paper rather than spoiling my whole exam setting? So should you have a clear strategy of dealing with surprises? I've seen a lot of time students spoil their exam setting because of a surprise element. Should we spoil our exam setting because of a surprise element, or should we have a strategy to mitigate it? Should we have the right strategy to deal with surprises? And what is the right strategy? Leave it for the last. So if it is a 10 marks surprise, ideally if you leave 20 minutes at the end of the exam hall will be good to do something with surprise. Even if you score 4 out of 10, or even if you score 5 out of 10, even if you score 3 out of 10 in the surprise area, is that better than getting 0? Can that 3, 4 be difference between 46 and 50? But should you leave the element of surprise towards the end of the exam paper rather than you spoil your 90 marks? I hope you're clear on this, right? Let's move further on to other aspects of the session today in terms of how you should be preparing for the AAA paper. Now, the next thing, the passcode to success in AAA. The passcode to success in AAA? What does that mean? Is there a passcode which you will enter and you will be successful in the AAA paper? Let's find, is there a passcode to success in the AAA paper? Yes, there is a passcode. Let's find the passcode. The passcode is 8544. The passcode to success in the AAA paper. You might be surprised. 8544 means what? Is it a secret key? Is it a secret password? Is it a password of the examiner laptop? Is it a password of the examining team computer system? And you enter the examiner computer system 8544 and you see, oh, this is the paper I will be seeing in September. No, not at all. Not at all. 8544. Let's see what research is behind 8544. Now, the research behind 8544 is very simple because student takes more interest when you tell them, okay, this is a secret key. So I thought for my session today, I should have a secret key 8544 to keep the suspense. So let's see the breakdown of 8544. Okay, 8. How to pass. 8 latest past papers. Must. You need to do the 8 latest past papers. From where? From March 20 backwards. From March 20 backwards. 8 latest past papers. Question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. Surprise elements. 8 latest past paper. Do your self-appraisal, everyone. The screen in front of you is your own self-appraisal. Ask yourself, have I done the latest past papers? 8 latest past papers. Have I done it? Some will say no, some will say yes. Do you still have time? Yes. So 8 latest past papers. How many? 8. 5 exam techniques article. You can't afford to miss these 5 exam technique articles. I hope you all of you know about these 5 exam techniques article. Exam technique article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have not read them, read them. If you have read them casually, read them properly. Do your self-appraisal. Do your self-appraisal. All the students taking this live class, do your self-appraisal. Ask yourself a question. Have you done them? Have you done them seriously? Have you done them properly? Have you done them casually? And have they really benefited you? No one can say this has not benefited us because these are wonderful exam technique articles. 8, 5, 4, 4 latest examiner reports. Read them. 4 latest examiner reports. Just read them. Identify the um, identify the anger of your examiner. Identify the frustration of your examiner. Identify the don'ts of your examiner. Keep a red pen with you. Keep a red pen with you. Identify the frustration of your examiner. Identify the anger of your examiner. Identify the don'ts of your examiner very, very carefully. 4 latest examiner reports. How many? Not 8. 4. 4 latest examiner reports. Will you be reading them? Will you be finding the frustration of your examiner? Will you be finding the language of the examiner? Students should not do this. Students should not do this. Or examiner at times says weaker students, weaker students. Should you read that and avoid that in September 20? If you have read the examiner reports, wonderful. A lot of times students ask me, what should we do 2 days before the exams? What should I do 1 day before the exam? I tell them, read examiner reports, do nothing. Just read examiner report like a story, like a novel. You're reading a novel, you're reading a story. Read it like a storybook. But that will make a remarkable difference in you passing and failing the AAA paper. So you can even read the examiner report 2 days before exams, 3 days before exams, like a novel, like a story, because a lot of time this is a frequently asked question. What should I do? I've done everything. What should I do? I tell the student, if you've done everything, then take a printout of the examiner reports or download the examiner reports and read them like a story. Will that make an impact, everyone? 8, 5, 4. And last 4, another frequently asked question of the student. Marks. How many marks will I get? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. How do I get to know as a tutor the marks? Do I have something different? No, I have the same thing which you have. 4 latest. Is my voice clear to everyone? Okay, if anyone is having a voice problem, I think you need to exit the session and join again, right? Okay, 4 latest examiner answers for marking scheme analysis. Do you know that the examiner has the marking scheme at the end of the answers? Right? So how many examiner answers you should be looking for the marking scheme? 4 latest examiner answers. 4 latest examiner answers. Will you get the marking scheme for audit risk? Latest. Risk of material misstatement? Latest. Business risk? Latest. Practice management? Latest. Ethical and professional issues? Latest. Audit reporting? Latest. So will you get marking schemes for everything in the 4 latest examiner answers? And I have encouraged the marking schemes in my March 2020 webinar. In my recently concluded exam drilling session, which a lot of you might have taken in my classes at the Tabani School of Accountancy. I have encouraged the marking schemes. So is 8544 the passcode to success in AAA is clear to all of you? Do you literally believe this is a passcode to success? This is important. And will you do a self-appraisal of yourself? 8544, who has achieved 8544 and who has not achieved 8544? So will you try to achieve the 8544 in the next few days, everyone? Okay, that's great. That's great. So the 8544 secret has been unveiled. So this is not the password of the examiner laptop. This is the effort you have to do. So 8544 is not any secret, it's the efforts. It's the effort which you have to do seriously. Okay, moving onwards now. Knowledge articles, which are a must. A lot of times students ask me, which articles should we read? Which articles should we read? Though that's a very frustrating question from students, but at least I try to put an answer of that in my session today, rather than again the student at the end of the session asking, recommend the articles to read, recommend the articles to read. So again, I've also incorporated some frequently asked questions of the student community. Knowledge articles which are a must. You can't afford to ignore them. You can't afford to ignore them. The articles coming on your screen now. I've taken exact titles from the ACC website, so you will not face any difficulty in searching them, right? So you need to download these articles from the ACC website. I've used the same titles which are on the ACC website. Data analytics and the auditor. But when you are reading the article, data analytics and the auditor, with that article, you also have to read an article which is on the AAA website, that is audit in a computer based environment. This is another article. You will find this article towards the very end of the articles on the AAA webpage. So data analytics and the auditor, it might be a very starting article, like the sixth article on the website, but audit in a computer based environment is an article which is very down into the articles. But these two articles have to be read together. Plus, I will be doing a session in the next 2 days on data analytics and the auditor, and I will be exploring data analytics and the auditor plus audit in a computer-based environment together. But that session, I'm not sure when that will happen, exact times. But if I plan a time, I'll let you know, or else in the next 2 days, I will be putting this session on my YouTube channel, right? But for sure, the session will be there in the next 48 hours on my YouTube channel, irrespective I take it live or record it. But this session will be there for every one of you. Next, audit in a specialized industry is another very important article you can't afford to ignore. Accounting estimates and the related disclosure is a very important article. Even though this has been tested as a current issue, even though that has been tested as a current issue, but still you believe accounting estimates are very regular feature of the exam paper. Should you have a lot of knowledge about accounting estimates as an auditor, as a manager in the AAA paper, you can't ignore this article, right? Even though this has been tested. Responding to NOCLA is such a wonderful article. You cannot afford to get into the exam hall without the knowledge of responding to NOCLA article. Corporate governance and its impact on audit practices. These are few recent articles, right, which has been published in the last 1.5 to 2 years. You cannot afford to ignore them and enter the exam hall. Auditing disclosures in financial statements is another article. I have already put a video on auditing disclosures in financial statement on my YouTube channel. If you read this article, you can go and watch my session on the YouTube with the same title, Auditing Disclosures in Financial Statement, and I will be doing it on data analytics very soon. Performance information in public sector is another article you should be putting emphasis to. Professional skepticism is another article. Using the work of internal audit, auditor liability, and the last one, acceptance decision for audit and assurance engagement. These are all articles which are there on ACCA website. They're not deleted. I just check it prior to the start of the session. They're all available and they are all must. Beside this, you want to read others, it's your option. But as a tutor, I'm recommending this 11 articles to be read. If you have read them, wonderful. Do your self-appraisal, everyone. Do your self-appraisal that out of the 11, how many I have done? Okay, I've done 7. Okay, I've left with 4. Out of the 11, I've done all 11. Can you all do your self-appraisal keeping this list of 11 in front? And do you still have plenty of time to go through the remaining articles if you have not done any from this list? So will you be asking me a question again on my Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, which articles to read? I hope no. Thank you. Thank you for that, right? Next, last thing. Attempting a question in AAA paper. How would you attempt a question in the AAA paper, and then finally at the end of the session some tips, the guesswork, which perhaps the reason why most of you are attending the session today. But I've just hold that up. Attempting a question in the AAA paper. Now, when you are attempting a question in the AAA paper, because if I must have told you the tips at the start of the session, you must all have exited in the first 10 minutes and said, okay, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful session. We got the objective. So I thought that I should hold you in this live session till the end and keep the tips in the end so that you enjoy the full session and then tell me it was a wonderful session. So you give me an honest feedback. Okay, moving ahead, attempting a question. Okay, now in terms of attempting a question, understand the requirements carefully. I'll just do an exercise with you on that to give you an example. Understand the requirements carefully. How many times have I reinforced this in my exam drilling session, in my classes at the Tabani School of Accountancy, in my webinars with ACCA, that understand the requirements carefully. I will be making an example in front of the class in the live session today even. Number 2, case connectivity. Case connectivity. And number 3, presentation of the answer. Can you see these 3 things in front of your screen? This is how you write an answer. Understand the requirements first, connect the case 2, and present the answer 3. Let's do them one by one. The very first thing, if you need to attempt a question in AAA, what will you do? You will first understand the requirement, right? Now, when you're understanding the requirements, break the requirement as much carefully as possible. Break the requirement as much carefully as possible. And students don't do that. I don't understand why. I've taught this so many times to my students in Tabani, my online students, my webinar students. Have I not taught this? Break the requirement as much carefully as possible. Let's give you an understanding once forever. Last time. For example, take a look at this paper in front of your screen. This is the December 2018 paper, right? December 2018 paper, you go down, you look at the first requirement on your screen. It says, okay, the first requirement says, evaluate the business risk to be considered in planning the audit. Okay, so I need to understand the requirement first. What is the examiner asking? Examiner is asking, just 1 minute. Examiner is asking, evaluate the business risk to be considered in planning the audit, full stop. Is there any diversity in this requirement? Is this a very straightforward requirement? Anything else in this requirement? No. Evaluate the business risk to be considered. So I have marks 8. I'll straight away divide the 8 with 2 and I'll find 4 business risk when reading the case study. This is known as a straight requirement, not a problematic requirement, right? But look at the next one. Evaluate the risk of material misstatements to be considered in developing the audit strategy and audit plan. Is that another straightforward requirement? Evaluate the risk of material misstatements to be considered. Straightforward requirement, and you have the marks. Look, students don't get confused when they get a straightforward requirement, right? Because reading a straightforward requirement is easier. Is that true to everyone? Reading a straightforward requirement is easier for everyone, right? But when there is a comma in the requirement, when there is an and in the requirement, students don't read it. For example, if I show you another requirement, at least where there is a comma and the and, let's see if we can find an equation for that in the question number 2 of this paper. Okay, for example, look at this part C in front of you. Question number 2, part C in front of your screen. It says, Explain the possible reasons why the directors may wish to exclude these disclosures. One requirement. Explain the possible reasons why the director may wish to exclude these disclosures. Now, can you see the examiner is using a and after? Can you all see this and here? I'm highlighting this in orange. But this is the problem with student. When the requirement is 1, you don't do a problem. But when the requirements are 2, you do a problem. Should we break this requirement? Is the examiner asking us two things? Explain the possible reason why the directors may wish to exclude the disclosure, and then examiner is asking, look at this word here, and can you see this and here, everyone, carefully? I don't know why you don't look at this in exam paper. What happens to you, all of you? And then the examiner says, evaluate the possible implication for the report. So is the examiner asking us two things here or one thing for 6 marks? But if I come out of the exam hall just by answering one, will I pass, will I fail? Do you understand the importance, everyone? How many times you ignore and or a comma? Please spend time on reading the requirement. You can spoil your exam setting in September if you are in a hurry and a rush and you ignore the comma and the and. Have I emphasized on this comma and reading in my exam drilling session, my classes at the Tabari School of Accountancy, in my webinars? I normally read requirements. I normally break requirements. I normally plan requirement. I hope this is one of my fundamentals as a tutor. So please ensure that whenever you are understanding the requirements, break the requirements. Important as much as possible. Understand the marking allocation. Have I always give you the marking allocation? Have I always taught you that you should read the requirement and then think about how many points to write? Have I given them in my classes at Tabani School of Accountancy to students appearing for September batch? Have I given that to my exam drilling students? Have I given that in my March 2020 webinar with ACCA? Do I give you that you need to read the requirement and understand the marks allocation? Understanding the marking allocation. Then decide what to do. How to do, and how many points to write. So when you read the requirement, everyone, and when you know the marking allocation, will you be in a far better position to decide what to do, how to do, and how many points to write? Will that make your answer clear? Will you be wasting time? Will you be wasting time in exam paper? Please reinforce this. Please reinforce this, everyone. Case connectivity. Connect case as much as possible. I don't like students who write generic answers, definitions, bookish knowledge of BPP and Kaplan. I don't like those students. Is not the examiner giving you a story to read? Is not the examiner giving you a story to read and find things from the story of the examiner? Connect the case as much as possible. Case absorption in your answer will make you succeed. See this, case absorption, case absorption, case absorption. Best thing to pass the AAA. Absorb the case. Avoid generic stuff like definitions and the bookish knowledge. Examiner is not looking for the bookish knowledge to make you pass the AAA paper. Remember, you are a manager. You are a manager. You forget this in exam context. Again, no idea why. Because realistically, you are not a manager, but hypothetically, you are in the exam paper. So even if you are hypothetically a manager in exam paper, do examiner goes after definitions and bookish knowledge, or do manager goes after case absorption? Manager goes after connecting the case. So is that formula of success clear to everyone? Move around case, read the story well and extracts point. Move around the case. Move around the case. Read the story well and extract points. So please ensure that the case connectivity is very, very important when you're reading the cases, when you're answering your questions. This is a very, very important point. Look for flagged issues in the case. When you read a case, whether it's question number 1 or it's 2 or it's 3, have you seen that at some places in the cases, examiner has spent more time. Examiner might have explained something in a paragraph than in a sentence. Should you be looking for flagged issues in the case where examiner has written more? Where the examiner has written more? Is the examiner trying to draw your attention? Where the examiner has emphasized more? Where the examiner has emphasized more in the case study? Will you ignore them or will you emphasize on them when you even are writing the answer? Look for flagged issues. Look for flagged issues. So is case connectivity important? Is everyone clear on case connectivity? Is that an important element which you should not be ignoring if you want to pass your AAA in the very first attempt in September? Okay, moving on. Presentation of the answer. Now you know that presentation of the answer in the question number 1 only, you use the briefing note format, right? Everyone is familiar with briefing note format. I have guided you multiple times. In the question number 1, you answer in a briefing note with headings, with the heading briefing note. So on the top you put briefing note, followed by to from subject, then the introduction, then the main body ABCD, followed by a conclusion. I hope I've made this clear many times, how you go down presenting the answer in the form of a briefing note. Headings are encouraged and liked by examiner. Whatever questions you are doing, 1, 2, 3, headings are encouraged and liked by examiner. It's a theoretical paper, SPL, AAA. Headings are encouraged, liked by examiner. I hope you stick to that. Next, break paragraphs, avoid long paragraphs. Break paragraphs, avoid long paragraphs. If you are changing a point, change the paragraph. If you're changing the point, change the paragraph. Keep a paragraph, if needed, to maximum 4 to 5 sentences long. Headings are there in every question you do in the AAA, right? Keep the paragraph to maximum 4 to 5 sentences long. Don't go over that. If you think your paragraph is going beyond 4 sentences or 5 sentences, please break it. Please break it. Please break it. Is that clear? So please avoid long paragraphs, use headings. Try to present your answer. Theoretical answers are difficult to read by the marking team. It's not an SPR paper. It's not an AFM paper. It's not an ATX paper. It's a theoretical paper. It's difficult to read an answer, a theoretical answer. And if you're giving a manual exams, use a reasonable handwriting. Illegible handwriting can be an issue. So if you are giving a manual exam, please ensure that your handwriting is reasonable. Thanks to computer-based exams, that at least the assessors or the marking team can have a wonderful time to chill and relax, checking the writing would not be an issue because so many students have so bad writings. So the CBE exams will make that easier for the marking team. So everything has advantages and everything has disadvantages. Okay, presenting the answer. Okay, moving on. Tips for September 2020. Now that's important. Now I hope the session so far, so forth, have given you some reinforcements of your exams in September. Has the session been beneficial for all of you? Have this really helped you in the reinforcements of things? And you still have time for reinforcement? You still have time for reinforcement, right? Okay. Now, one thing which has become a market norm, or one thing which I myself has consistently done, that I give tips for every exam setting. Sometimes the materialization of tips are like more than 70%, 80%. Sometimes the materialization of tips are like 50 to 60%. But the tips are given with a disclaimer. That is very important. Completing 100% syllabus is the first priority, not tips. Right? Tips might be for a student who says, I've not done anything yet. What should I do? I have 10 days remaining. What should I do? Tips are for that student. Tips is not for a student who wants to be a place winner, who wants to be a prize winner. Tips is not for a student who have attended the full classes. Tips is for a student who is standing on the 22nd of August and says, what should I do? Clueless. But I am giving a big disclaimer with the tips because tips are misunderstood. Tips are understood as if this is the only thing which will come in the paper. Not at all, please. I hope you're clear on that disclaimer, everyone. Tips is a guess. Tips is a guess. And with the guess, you have something known as risk. Am I the one preparing the AAA paper? No. So my guess can be right, my guess can be wrong. Can you purely rely on my guess? Can you purely rely on my guess? No. Can you just purely rely on my guess and go to the exam hall? No. Is everyone clear with that risk factor with tips? But let's find what has been the trend of the past papers. Moving on. Last thing. What's likely? Again, likely, not reality. Can you all see this? Likely, not reality. Likely means might be, could be, possible. Is it a reality? Am I the examiner? Am I making the paper? No. Okay, what's likely? Which risk? Frequently asked question. Which risk? I have floods of messages on my WhatsApp. Which risk will come? Which risk will come? Which risk will come? Okay, let's assess. I believe business risk with ROM is more likely in September 20. Business risk with ROM is more likely for September 20, sorry. Equally, an audit risk question with analytical procedure cannot be ruled out. With analytical procedure cannot be ruled out. It's been long since analytical procedures have come in recent past. So high expectations in September 20, examiner comes back with an analytical procedure question, right? Or a business risk with ROM, equally important. Can't be ruled out. Moving on. Which reporting question? Going concern question looks very potential. A full-scale going concern question cannot be ruled out. A typical reporting question with multiple requirements. You must have seen those questions where you get that schedule of unadjusted errors or schedule of proposed adjustments. You must have seen questions like that in past papers, right? The question which comes with like a schedule of misstatements with the debits and the credits in the reporting question, right? That sort of a question, right? That sort of a question is possible. Or even reporting to those charged with governance, but I'm keeping less weightage for this. Even reporting on those charged with governance, I'm keeping a less weight on that, but I'm keeping a more weight on going concern and a typical reporting question with multiple requirements, like a question you get with schedule of proposed adjustments. Right? Moving on. Will other assignments comes in question 3? Will other assignment comes in question 3? If yes, then due diligence and the audit of performance information cannot be ruled out. So if other assignment comes in, I have no idea. But if they comes in, might be due diligence and might be the audit of performance information. Due diligence and audit of performance information can't be ruled out. Can't be ruled out. C-A-N-T, can't be ruled out. Important. Should I expect a question on evidence? Yes, you can, in terms of the cycle on which it's coming in the last 2 years. I've seen the cycle on which the evidence question is coming in. And on the basis of the cycle, it has a chance. Can you expect a question on evidence with working papers, evidence you should expect to find in the working paper, or comment on the sufficiency and appropriateness of the audit evidence? That cannot be ruled out considering the cycle it has been coming in. Should I expect a question on data analytics? Maybe for 5 to 10 marks, right? Maybe for 5 to 10 marks. Which accounting standard should I focus on on a priority? IS 36, 37, and 38 are always important. IFRS 2, IFRS 5, and IFRS 15 comes a lot too. IS 20 has been much focused in recent years. IFRS 16 has struck 2 to 3 times in recent history. IS 40 on investment property comes occasionally, and IS 41 on agriculture property was tested once in recent history. With every category of standard, I have written a statement after. I hope that statement will help you understand. Always important, comes a lot to, focused in recent years, 2 to 3 times in recent history, comes occasionally, was tested once. Are those statements reflective of their value in the recent past? Everyone, which accounting standard should I focus on? But will you prepare just these accounting standards and go into the exam hall? No. Will you just prepare a question on evidence and go into the exam hall? Will you just prepare due diligence and audit of performance information and go to the exam hall? Will you just prepare going concern and go to exam hall? No, again, please understand, it's likely not reality. It's likely not reality. Don't come out of the exam hall cursing me. Don't come out of the exam hall hating me, right? I'm again saying this is just an assessment. This is just an assessment, right? So is everyone clear on the tips and the assessments for which you joined the session today? Honestly? Was that the reason of joining the session today? Perhaps you knew that the tutor will disclose the tips for September exams, because there has been flood of messages on my email and WhatsApp and Messenger. When will the tips be released? When will the tips be released? So they have finally been. So I hope the session today has been productive, has given you some value. The time you spend in the session today, like 75 minutes, these 75 minutes have been worth, right? So I will be putting the recording of this session on the YouTube channel. Just one last thing. A lot of times students ask me the order of attempting the questions. See, examiner says there is no order. You should start with your strongest question first. So choose the question you are strongest on by first going with the requirements, and the question you are strongest in, start with that first. Examiner believe the student who starts with the strongest question first, has shown that he has passed the paper. So whichever question you're strong at, start with that first. No need to go with 1 2 3. You can be 2 3 1. You can be 3 1 2. It can be in any order. Right? I hope that's clear. I will be coming with a session on data analytics. If not live, then I will be putting the recording on the YouTube. So please be on my YouTube channel in the next 3-4 days. I have put my YouTube channel link in the chat box. So please ensure that you are on my YouTube channel, because in the next 2 to 3 days, I will be putting a video on the data analytics, which is important for exams in September, and might possibly be that I put some other videos as well, but not committing. But at least data analytics is a committed video I will be putting on the YouTube channel in the next 2 days. Okay, thank you very much, all of you, for taking time and participating in this live channel. Just 1 minute before I exit things out. Just 1 minute. There is one requirement. I need to fulfill that before I just wind up my session today. Okay, I've put my YouTube channel link for everyone. You can you can click on this, be part of it, so that you are updated for any postings on this channel. Um, Thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out and being part of this this session today. I hope you liked this session and it was beneficial for all of you. Um, in terms of whatever you have gained from this session today. Okay, I wish you all a very best of luck for your exams coming up in September, whether you are giving a CBE exam or you are giving the manual exams. Please ensure that you have that passcode 8544 for success. Whatever you learned in the session today or in my classes at the Bani School of Accountancy or in my exam drilling sessions or in my webinars, please apply them very, very effectively, right? My prayers, my well wishes are all with my students, and I wish you all success in September exams. And thank you very much once again. Stay safe, study effectively, and goodbye and Allah Hafiz.